guys, thank you so much for joining us again at the OTWO Pod. And again, we're still in season 1, which is building greener businesses. Today we've got Faith and we've got Stephen from EY joining us. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you. So, okay, I want to know first of all a bit about yourselves. What is it that you do in EY? What does EY do in general? So give me a bit of an idea.
I'll start off.
Let's go.
So I'm Faith Howe. I'm one of 5 partners in the EY Gibraltar office. And I basically am a qualified certified public accountant. I relocated here to Gibraltar over 17 years ago now.
Wow, you're part of the
furniture. And my professional background is really audit and accounting. And Stephen?
Yeah, I'm Stephen. I'm a tax senior manager in EY Gibraltar. And unlike Faith, I've been slightly less than Faith, but I've been now nearly 13 years in the profession.
Wow.
So I'm locally born and bred.
Janito.
So again, took the traditional routes to studying in the UK, becoming qualified, professionally qualified, and joining our predecessor before, and then EY.
So the predecessor before. So EY has been for how long?
So EY, Stevie can mention the local aspect, but just to go back to your question, like what is EY? EY is a global firm. We are what they call part of the Big Four. So Big Four is basically one of the largest professional services networks in the world. We have over 400,000 people working across 150 countries, Gibraltar being one of them.
Amazing.
And locally?
Yes, so locally we previously was part of another international network, but then 2013 EY approached us and wanted to set up again in Gibraltar. So from 2013 we split part of our business, which was mainly audit and tax, became EY, and since then we've been just growing.
Amazing. It sounds like an interesting journey, right?
So we're a total of 50 people right now in the office.
So you're one of the 85 countries, is it?
150.
150 countries. Wow. So what? So tell me about sustainability, the EY sustainability journey. Because I mean, I've been reading up a bit about what you guys are doing, and it seems like you've really kind of said, right, this is the way forward as a full company, right?
Yeah. So I'll talk about the global aspect.
Yeah.
Maybe later on Stephen can expand on the local, like how we bring it to life here in Gibraltar. So globally, EY, as I mentioned, is a Big Four firm. We do recognize we have a massive footprint across the globe with over 400,000 people in 150 countries. So very, very early on, sustainability has always been one of the key pillars of our strategy. But it has evolved quite a lot since, I think, 2021, when they officially came out with a big strategy. Now the strategy has kind of evolved over the years, especially with sustainability as a topic really rising to the forefront of everyone's minds. Right now, there's 2 commitments that EY has kind of publicly announced, and as a firm, as a global firm. And the first is to halve our emissions by 2030, and the second is a deep, sustained, and continuous commitment over time to reach net zero by 2050.
Yeah.
So we kind of tackle it from 3 different angles, and this is when the local one will feed through shortly. First of all, as a global firm, there's obviously global policies that everybody in all the network needs to adhere to.
Yeah.
So things like, for example, changing our ways of working. I'll give you probably 2 of the main ones. The travel. And that's been a really big change, especially since COVID. COVID, it was already gearing up towards that, but I think COVID kind of sped it up.
Yeah.
So, the reduction in travel was a big part of that, and really kind of using the tools and technology to help us, communicate and connect with colleagues, with clients in a different way using technology. And then the second, we are a professional services firm. We have a lot of documentation. I can remember like starting my career over 17 years ago. We're still doing a lot of paper-based files. We have to keep a lot of files. That has drastically changed. Our ways of working have really evolved into the digital space. And so using that digital technology to deliver services to our clients, to document our work, which is very important in our field.
Of course.
The reduction in paper waste has really progressed.
I can imagine, as technology grows, and I think it's like you mentioned, COVID really did up the technology in sort of communication-wise. I mean, we were all stuck at home, we couldn't move, and you had to carry on working. Some people more than others, but the world had to carry on moving in a certain way.
Yeah.
And you feel like that kind of shift had helped.
It did help.
I think apart from that, obviously, I think it's a bit of the atmosphere that was created because of the lack of movement and the lack of human interactions that there was.
Yeah.
So I think there was even more of an importance of, okay, we need to move forward into how we can improve that.
Yeah.
I can imagine as an international, 400,000 people trying. Do you guys I'm sure you're going to elaborate on this further, but it's just I have this question. Do you guys measure the carbon footprint in a general way, or do you kind of compartment your areas and your...
The measurement, we don't focus too much yet on the measurement. The measurement is really important from a global perspective, so we do report certain things within the firm. But it's also still quite a bit of a challenge as people try and align how things are measured and the standards are evolving. So it's not officially done, but we do try and track it informally and locally. Yeah.
Okay. So in a sorry, I'll carry on.
Sorry. I was going back to the three angles. The second angle is also from the client perspective, because we are a services firm. We also help our clients in their own sustainability journeys, whether it's through helping them to comply with reporting requirements, the measurement, the reporting, and giving assurance and reports on those because the standards or legislation might require. And then also in their own kind of local, developing their policies, their initiatives, so that we can share the knowledge with them. So that's from the client perspective. And the more important one, which is really to bring to life what's here in Gibraltar, is the local perspective. Like, how do we make it real? How do we make the EY's global strategy real for our people?
Yeah.
And that's what Stephen can talk about.
Yes, so just before that, obviously, just to add to Faith, obviously, she mentioned the technology and shifting to reducing travel time. As part of the global network, I think our shift from home working to office working during COVID was quite seamless in the sense that because there's been a huge investment in technology, we were already prepared to sort of take our laptops and be able to open them and work from wherever with a Wi-Fi access point or internet. So that did help us, and it made it easier to us to sort of focus on how we can develop and grow on the sustainability angle. So that did help us. Coming back to the local angle, and I guess it's down to Gibraltar being a small place. So you sort of need to digest and be able to break down what the global initiatives are so that it makes sense and our people sort of know and can able to sort of manage them and put them into practice, and so that they can see some sort of value to it. So what we do is we try and sort of localize it and do stuff that we can manage. we can influence, and people feel that they're contributing to a greener and sustainable workplace. So, I mean, during the year and throughout the year, we do organise certain events that touch upon the sustainability angle. But I think this conversation has been ongoing, especially through the partner group for various years and well before the sustainability topics and discussions became more important. So I think years back we started off with just the simple changing of fluorescent light bulbs in our office and changing them all to LED tubes, and then getting rid of our kettle, for example, and introducing integrated hot and cold taps. So it was a way of trying to sort of reduce our energy efficiency, which I think is probably the most important aspect of it, because obviously our setup is used to use a lot of energy.
And something that's controllable, something we can actually...
It's all about education at the end of the day. I mean, I can imagine having so many employees. I mean, locally, you mentioned like around 50, but it's an impact. You don't realize as a person and how much energy you use, and just having the consideration of switching off your computer at the end of the day, and switching off, making sure that the lights are switched off when you're not using them, So air conditioning, just close off the the windows if you're going to switch it on, and making sure that the energy is used as the most efficient way. So you mentioned events that you guys do during the course of the year to kind of promote sustainability in the sense. There's a lot of local events going on now recently. Clean Up the World, I think, has been going on for 30 years, I think, something like that. It's been
I guess it's obviously we have taken part on Clean Up the World. We've done various beach cleanups, Nautilus projects with a lot of the initiatives. From a more internal point of view, we do have our own annual fundraiser, the EY Relay. I'm not too sure whether you've heard about that. And again, this started back in 2014.
When we first became EY.
Exactly, and year on year we try to sort of change things to become more sustainable. Simple stuff like, for example, before first couple of years we started giving plastic water bottles. When the runners used to finish the race. That then changed, and we ended up...
to Aquagym.
Yes,
we spoke to Aquagym at the time.
Get a water bowser to be taken to casements, and then encourage people to bring their refillable bottles and use that. Obviously that then changed to having a permanent refillable tap.
I think that probably inspired Aquagym to build a more permanent fountain.
Yeah, so it's those little things that sort of adds value and sort of showcase to maybe the wider community of little things that can be done.
It is. It's crazy how sometimes just by thinking outside the box a little bit, and this is when we started mentioning a bit about international and local, and obviously international have their own sort of targets, and local, you have to think of the local scene as well, and sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming, right? I mean, you think about, you're like, well, targets maybe international companies, but maybe local companies, we can keep it a bit local, but it's the influence that we can get from the international companies that are really important to our local, because it's all about growth, it's all about learning, and not everybody, I don't think no one has all the answers to these questions, and no one can do things perfectly. It's all about trying our best in every way that we possibly can.
Yeah, I guess Gibraltar's infrastructure is not yet as developed as other larger countries, in which case the smaller things is what makes
it's a stepping stone.
Count. Exactly.
I think it makes it more real for the people, and it helps inspire them to actually take it home. So for the practices that we have in the office, for them to think about, how can they carry that on in their own homes.
Coming back to other initiatives we've had, you mentioned the aircon. We we've changed our icon system on units, so we've introduced timers, so during night time it automatically switches off. We've got light sensors in our communal office spaces, which again, in late activity, they switch off. Our sort of office moped is now fully electric. We introduced recycling bins within the office for different cans. We now we don't use single-use water bottles in the office. We introduced sort of water stations, refillable water stations. So everyone's got their own refillable bottle, and so it's these little things that
honestly, it's the little things that make a difference. You don't realize it, but it is the little things, you know.
We've taken it a step further more recently, and we spoke to we kind of changed the way we're supplying our cleaning materials, and we're now working with one local company to do the refillable cleaning materials. So we don't, that the single-use plastic, again, in terms of cleaning materials, we get rid of.
Amazing. I mean, I think we use the same company. I think it's a local company, and they're brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it's Unpacked, you were mentioning.
Yes.
It is. I mean, and Andrea is brilliant in what she does, and you think, well, there's no hassle in it. You know, the person comes in, they fill up the bottles that they need to, and it's all about training the cleaners on the day or whatever that they need to do and how they need to use the products. But it's brilliant. So, how have you noticed the clients receptive towards sustainability as products and as services that you guys provide for them?
In GIB, particularly for financial services, there has been, some legislation coming out of the EU, which is the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. That was post-Brexit already, so it didn't quite flow through immediately to Gibraltar. So realistically, in GIB, we haven't really felt that pain or demand yet for professional services in terms of reporting requirements, because there is no mandatory requirement under legislation yet that requires firms to report on their sustainability footprint. But obviously, we see that will come more in the future. At the moment, it's not, probably only the bigger firms connected to listed companies in the EU or globally, maybe they would feel it a little bit more and they would respond to it a bit more. But for now, as a professional services firm in Gibraltar, it's all about, at the level that we are at now, it's all about raising awareness and discussions and coming up with the local initiatives and helping it's participating in events in exactly like this, like podcasts that talk about this topic, bringing it up, raising more awareness, which inspires the local businesses and our clients to come up with their own initiatives locally. But the reporting side, the more formal, technical, we need to comply with legislation, is not quite there yet.
I mean, I do feel though that it is coming. It's like what you're saying. I mean, it has to. I mean, at the end of the day, we realize the importance that we have in our, and the impact, more than importance and impact that we have in our working life, And
I think Gibraltar's way of working is that, I mean, legislation drives the change. So if it's in legislation, people will make that change first. If it's not, and it's some voluntary action, it could be a lot more difficult for somebody to impose, because obviously they might think it's only a drop in the ocean. There's big environmental or issues, and Gibraltar is very small, but obviously it's these little small things that add up to being a green place.
It is, and I mean, we have to think about our practices and stuff. Simply what you guys have been saying about the stuff that you've been doing in the offices, and I mean, I'm sure it's benefited your bill at the end of the month, because I mean, all these things are all you're becoming more efficient. It's all about that. I mean, no one's saying you need to spend more money, and I mean, maybe the initial investment of the LED lights, I'm not saying that wouldn't have been in the in the purse, but eventually you will get that
Yeah.
that money back because you're not being, you know.
It's changing the mindset and really going for that investment, like you said.
Yeah.
And again, obviously we are a big professional services firm, so obviously we need continuous talent coming
Yeah.
and expertise, or to be able to develop and grow in this area as well. So I think we've seen a shift between the new workforce, generation workforce coming into the workplace. So they are more now
More attuned.
attuned and aware and looking for workplaces which take sustainability and environmentally friendly, being environmentally friendly more important in the sort of organization they want to be a part of. So again,
It's
that's
the reputation of the
Yes.
company, I think, it's happening. I mean, people are seeing, yes, it might not be regulatory, you know, legislative, and it has to be enforced, but people have consciousness, no? They are conscious of what's
Yeah.
going on, and they have their responsibility, and I think that people are slowly realizing, hold on, I want to be more responsible in my own
Yeah.
place of work, you know?
as employers, you have to adapt to that change, because if not, you sort of stay behind from attracting the best talent, and that sort of from a financial and sort of organization perspective, it hinders progression.
So what recommendation would you give any company that's looking into sustainability? What would you suggest for them to do if they started to say, right, perhaps I'm going to be looking a bit more into this legislative trends and way forward? What way would they start? I mean, how could you help them?
I think from a local perspective and focusing more on local companies and Gibraltar, I think it's just investing or finding areas of investment that can then efficiently make your business better. I mean, introducing small things like what we've just mentioned, reducing your bill of doing business. I think that's a good starting point for Gibraltar companies. Then obviously you've got the mid-tier and companies that might be connected to a more global network, which then again they probably have their global initiatives and policies, but I think it's more focusing on those companies who don't have that international reach and showcasing how locally you can reduce your energy outputs and make things more efficient for your business.
First off, I think it's really important to have a clear goal. I think that would really, especially for the smaller businesses, you cannot jump from 0 to 100 straight away.
Realistic steps.
I think having a clear goal, clear targets, and then starting with the realistic steps, the small milestones that to reach that goal, then that's, then you see something tangible happening that would inspire you to carry on.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you so much, Faith, for joining us. Honestly, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And thank you, guys. I'll see you soon.